to Sestra-Tainment.
I'm Lenora.
And I'm Dee.
And we're coming to you today in regards to
Everything Entertainment.
And so I'm going to start first this week, and I am going to talk about the Titan disaster, which is the submersible, remember?
The OceanGate.
The OceanGate, yes. So the Titan is called on Netflix, Titan, the OceanGate submersible disaster.
I was going to talk about this as well.
Were you?
Yeah, I really was.
Gosh.
Because you was like, I was really into it. And I was literally sitting here thinking like, I bet you she's going to talk about the Titanic thing.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay,
so, all right, well, then we can talk about it together. Yeah. So, this is the story of OceanGate and Stockton Rush. So, Stockton was the founder and CEO of OceanGate. And he actually kind of seemed as though he was really focused on, look, I'm going to do what I need to do to make sure that I get my submersible down to the Titanic, to help people to see the Titanic and experience that. It is that thing that he said that he was always wanting to be an astronaut and to go up into space and to see and explore. But he said, you know what? There's more exploration in the ocean.
Yeah, because we know nothing about the ocean.
Right. Exactly.
Everybody's looking up. Ain't nobody looking down though.
Looking down. And so therefore, and there's so much unknown down there that he was just like, no, that's the way that I want to go. So you have different people who are a part of this documentary, because that's what it is, and it's a little bit of everybody. So you have everyone from someone who was a lead in or an assistant to the lead engineer who started as an intern, and then she was going to become the face of OceanGate in the submersible. So, they have her story. Yeah. You have David Lockridge. He was the director of marine operations. So you have his story. You have Tony Neeson, who was the director of engineering, and his part of the story. You have the daughter of P.H. Nargolet, who was somebody who passed away in the submarine. So you have her, side of everything, which I'll just say now, horribly, once it happened, crickets. Nobody said anything. Nobody apologized. Nobody reached out. But then it's like, who would do that when the CEO went down with the ship?
Yeah.
So therefore, it's like one of those things that he was in such control of the whole process that I don't even know who would have thought I'm the next person in line to step up, because it didn't really seem like he had like people who were his left hand, right hand, his COO or his whatever. Yeah. Like, it didn't even seem like that. It seemed like it was him. And it was a whole bunch of engineers, and it was a whole bunch of people who, just made sure everything went together. And then there was the board. So maybe the board could have, because I know there were some conversations about, we brought this in front of the board. But he was not a nice guy. Right. Well, I was going to get to that. So basically, let me see who else I wanted to talk about. You had an accountant and a CPA, and he was like, before the lead assistant to the engineer was going to be the face, he was like, I just fired somebody. You're going to be the new face of this as a woman. And she was like, I'm an accountant. Like, how do you want me
I'm
to go into the machine, like go into the submersible and use this joystick? And I don't play
video games. This is a PlayStation controller. What you want me to do with this?
Crazy. You had Mark Harris as a journalist in here. You had Bill Price as a mission specialist. That's what they started calling themselves. They couldn't say that they were pilots, or they couldn't say that they were captains or something. Yeah, because then it was like a federal mandate could come down on things. So they found out a loophole. And it was that if you say that you're a mission specialist, then they can't come after you. You had an OSHA investigator as a part of this, Paul McDivitt. You had David Progue, who was a correspondent for CBS Sunday Morning, who went into it. Then you had a YouTuber, Jake Kohler. Who also went into the submersible. So you have a lot of players.
Here's my thing. First of all, we're going down to the Titanic. We're going to the floor of the sea.
Of the sea, yes.
And something that looks like a Pepsi can. With a glass piece on the front and a glass bubble on the top, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Also, with this being said, why are we directing the way that we're going with a PlayStation controller? If you think, here's my thing. If somebody is smart enough to put this together, they can be smart enough to figure out a different way to, like, it could have been a joystick.
Yeah, it could have been something.
Maybe they should have changed it to Atari.
Yes,
They missed their opportunity.
They missed it. Yeah. So the story really, it starts off with that there's a tragedy, and then it kind of goes backwards years later. And so, but he really had this vision, and over 15 years, he was pulling everything together.
2016?
No, it was longer than that.
2013, I think.
Was it 2013 to 2020? I think they did the first one in 23, 24, so maybe 10 years. And so, but he was that type of person that once he had it in his brain that it was going to work, there was nothing you could say to let him think that it wasn't going to work. Like, he was just set on it. It was going to happen. There was never going to be...
His manifestations did not come through.
His manifestations, honestly, when I was watching it, and I've been manifesting for years, I thought something in the power of his thought saved that thing from happening the first, second, third, fourth time. Like, it went down quite a few times.
Yeah, when you could hear the fibers cracking and stuff.
You could hear the popping.
Yeah, and then, but also, they did the test in the, controlled test. They did the controlled test, and they was like, oh yeah, we can hear it, so then we're going down. All right, so we got to take it to 4,000. It's like, we're at 2,500, and then it's like, pop, 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 pop.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think we can go down a little further, bruh. No, bring the structure up.
Bring it
like,
up.
You can't do that.
He was in there by himself, like, testing it, and I feel like he did have this thought that, well, if it's going to go down, at least I'll go down in it. But then you have all these other times where he's like, oh, no, nothing's going to happen. Nobody's going to die. Like, I don't want to die. I have a grandbaby that I'm living for, so I don't want to die. And, nobody's going to die on my watch, kind of things. The things that he would say. Yeah. And I just feel as though in his mind, he probably was like, no, this is where it's fine. Like, yeah, you hear the noise, but
I got the Boeing people working on it.
It's no problem at all. Like, this is all good in the
hood.
But
why did he have the Boeing people working on a submarine?
Yeah,
that's what I didn't understand. Like, Boeing makes airplanes, correct? Do they make submarines?
No, what he would do is that he was trying to make it lighter, and so he was using different types of materials that the people, that's what everybody said as they were doing the documentary, is like they were working with companies that are experts in their field of this, right? So the outlying part being, what did they say it was? I can't even remember, but it's like, not fiberglass, but something like that. Like,
I think it was.
Was it fiberglass?
No, it was carbon fiber.
Carbon fiber.
Yeah, but this is my thing. Carbon fiber, if you ever mess with carbon fiber, it breaks easily.
Well, I just know that whatever they were trying to focus on, that it ended up being where they worked with the experts who knew the expert things, but they did not know how to do it for a submarine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, it's like, this is a submarine. You got other people. It's like, oh, we specialize in making carbon fiber hoods for cars. Well, you specialize in carbon fiber, but guess what? We need you to make some. But it's like, bro, I make hoods for cars. Or like, I make.
So like, look, here's the pinging. So tell me if you would want to hear this while you are going down into the ocean.
If your hearing or your acoustic monitoring system is showing you spikes, it's still breaking. You don't want to hear that anymore because...
well, let's hear what he says, because...
If it's not breaking, it's intact.
Right. So you're hearing what is breaking as it's breaking.
As it's breaking,
And he's sitting in there like, go deeper, go further, go long. And then he's like, ooh, that was pretty loud. Ooh, there was quite a loud bang. All those types of things. And you're like, dude, go back to the surface. Like,
I don't understand.
I think in his mind, he talked himself into the fact that, look, we're holding this thing together with tape and glue and blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, it's like, but it works. That was the 39th dive is what you were hearing right now.
I understand that it works.
He's like, we've had 38 other dives where it's popped like this, but nothing catastrophic has happened.
With the 38 other times, they were just trying to go down further and further each time, right?
No, this was after they had done I think maybe something that had taken. This might have even been after
did
the
they go?
correspondent.
Because I know that they were
there.
down by the ship Bow. What's it called? Bow.
The bow. B-O-W.
Yeah, Bow. They said they were like right underneath it or something like that. It was the girl, the Irish dude, and the other guy were all in it together. But I still think that I don't know. I mean, I guess that every time you bring it up, you have to restructure it to make it a sound structure that's going to work. Every time it comes up, it needs to be taken apart and put it back together, basically to make sure that those carbon fibers or whatever is holding.
No, they weren't doing that.
No, I'm saying that's what they needed to do.
That's what they needed to do.
Yeah.
But no, what they were doing is that they were continuing to have those carbon fibers rip and rip and rip.
Yeah.
And then at some point, two things happened. One thing happened, well, three things happened, really.
Yeah.
One thing happened is that in between, like, you always saw that big bubble in the front,
the big
right?
bubble in the front
so
and the one at the
bubble
top.
in the front, the bubble on the top. So at one point, the bubble in the front, one of the guys who was really big on everything saw water in the bubble in the front after they did one of the dives. So he came back and he said, dude, you got a leak somewhere because there's water coming in somehow and you don't want to go that deep and that far.
That's too much pressure.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So we got to fix this. So he was like, okay, all right, we're going to see what's going on and try to figure that out. And I can't remember the order of how each of these things happened. But anyway, so then it was like, all right, let's go ahead and work on that, right? So the glass part of it all, right? So you have that happened. That guy ended up being so persistent about everything that he had said and was like, I know what I know that I know. I'm the head of all this stuff. And so basically the guy fired him. Rush
Stockton.
fired him.
Stockton
fired
him.
him.
They said that what Stockton would do would be he reminds me of actually my general manager. He would talk crappy to you in front of everybody and scold you,
right,
and then fire you, and then put somebody else that has not qualified in your position,
in your place, right? Because they said at one point it was all like recent grads in engineering that were all running everything for this program, and it's like, why in the world would you get people?
Sounds
who
like the
don't
United
know
States
anything?
Homeland Security guy.
I know, right? Yeah. So it's like, but why would you go ahead and hire people who have no expertise in this to do this? But he also is trying to create a cult culture. So therefore, if you
like what,
like
actual
literally,
cult? I didn't see that part, but I was in and out of it. I thought it was good.
Yeah,
I was in and out of it, but I just basically wanted to see like the gist of
the gist of what actually
was that?
happened and what they were saying.
Well, how they built it and everything and stuff like that.
But yeah, so what happened though in regards to the cult culture that I was talking about is that when I was watching it, you could see that it was like every time he emerged, it was like, yay, he has risen. Like, oh, this is great. His wife was on the exploration.
And it was started with his wife, correct?
It was him and his wife.
But it started with his wife because his wife had family members that were on the Titanic.
Yeah,
they had money.
Grandparents, great grandparents or something.
So I wonder if they funded it.
He had family money and she had family money. So there were two well-off families, both of which his family had signed the Declaration of Independence. So he had two grandfathers or great-great-great-grandfathers who on each side, his mom and dad.
So no wonder he thought that everything was going to be fine.
Exactly. Then the privilege of it.
Yeah.
And then she had two well-to-do people who had a seat on the Titanic, and
they were part of Macy's, right?
Yes, they are the founders, or they're maybe even there.
They might be Macy's.
The founders of the Macy's, so they did show the Macy's stores and stuff like that. They were, drawn up from back in the day. So there was a lot of wealth and money and things like that, prestige that comes along with this whole thing, and probably how he was able to raise money and get funding and all those kind of things as well. And he was definitely somebody who, once he knew what he wanted to have, he was just going to talk about it, do what he needed to do. That's why he invited the CBS correspondent to come out there.
Okay.
And so that guy, they were just like, hey, dude, like, why did you decide to even go in this thing? And he was like, well, I decided to go into it because I'm thinking he needs press. And why in the world would he invite the news, national news, to come and see something if it wasn't safe? So he said that it was like this 9-day expedition that he was with them on, just of being out in the ocean, learning about it, understanding everything, going out just, to the depths of where they needed to go to, which was almost 4,000 meters underwater.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh my gosh, like what in the world is going on? So he had said that
there was some cool looking fish down there too.
Yeah, but I think he said they had like 25 or so expeditions by the time he went down there. So he's like, well, if anything was going to happen, it would have already happened.
But like, I feel like I did you see them do any kind of like, once they came back up, did you see anybody go and look over it to make sure everything was okay? Like,
every time that they would open, it was funny because people would check the seals to see if they had water on.
Yeah.
I do recognize that.
Yeah,
and I was like, well, why would you need to check those if everything is stable and safe? But I forgot to tell the other things. One was the water inside the hole. I forgot to start it down a tangent. The other thing is that somebody saw a crack, like somebody literally in something. They were like, ooh, you could fit a screwdriver head into one of the cracks. So they showed that, and then you could hear the voice. And the girl who was the intern, who became the assistant to the lead engineer or whatever, she was like, oh no, I'm not putting anybody in that machine at all ever again. And so that's when they realized, okay, well, if we have this much of a crack, we're going to have to pull the whole thing apart, put new, what do you call it, insulation and different things like that, and reform it again, which is going to cost millions and millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. But they realized, okay, if it's cracked this much, then we really can't take it back down safely. And then the other thing is when the YouTube guy, Jake, came and he wanted to go down in it, it was really bad weather to start. So they were like, no, we're not going to be able to do it. And then they were like, okay, yes, let's go ahead and do it. And so they went ahead and did it. But then as they started to go down, and he said, like, he's ready. Like, he's going in. He's going to see the Titanic. Like, he's doing the thing, right? And then he said it ended up being that there was condensation everywhere. Like, he was like, I took off my shoes and I had them like right where, because I guess he was trying to film and be like a cool, 20 something. So he said that he had his feet right up against where the circle was, right?
The glasses,
the plastic was. And so he said it was just sweating. It was just, I just remember my feet being cold and wet, and I was hearing the popping, and he was like, something is going on. And then it happened to be there's so much fog rolled in that they couldn't go as far down as they wanted to, and they ended up pulling them back up.
Thank God.
And that's what he said, because he was like, little did I know I was the last one in there
that was
who
safe.
Lived. Because the very next time that they went down, a few days later with all those people, was when they all perished. Yeah. And so he was crying because he was like, I was so disappointed. Like, I'm getting out of this submarine so disappointed that I didn't get to have the adventure that I was planning to have, even for my YouTubers, for everything. He was like, I was just disappointed. And then come to find out, like, my life was saved. Like, I didn't even put together that my life was literally saved.
Because you're so much thinking about what the prize is, you're not even realizing that you just put yourself
pride, your ego, all of that stuff.
But so how many people? I don't remember this part. Do you remember how, like, when they put the people down, was it the same amount of people every time?
It could hold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, I think.
So it could hold 5 people, but every time they went down, how many people went down? Because I'm wondering if when they went down together, when they all perished, I wonder if it was too much. You have too many bodies in there. Now you have messed up the structure for the weight. You have messed up the structure for your breathing. Nobody's taking in the accountability of that.
Oh, he had a whole bunch of oxygen things down
there.
No.
I'm saying that if you have more people inside of it, that's going to, the math is now different. So you going down with 2 people, it's going to be great. But now that you have 5 people that you're taking down in there, it might.
No, he's taking, because when he went down with the guy from CBS, they had 5, I think.
Oh, okay.
Because it was even some guy who's like the Jacques Cousteau of the current, things, and he was really involved in it. People were like, why in the world is this guy involved in this kind of thing? Yeah, but I can't remember what the guy's name is now.
Heck, you pale.
I know, right? So, yeah, but no, 5 people passed away. They said that the submersible is believed to have imploded about an hour and 45 minutes after the trip began. And the whole process would take hours. Like, to get all the way down to the Titanic, to ride around it, and then to come back would take sometimes like 7 hours. It was like a day. And so the other thing is that at one point they went down there, they're at the Titanic, and they got caught between the like the bow and like I don't know, it was something that was sticking out above them, so they're like in between the two with a joystick to navigate so you don't hit the Titanic.
Not a joystick.
It
was a PlayStation controller.
Well, a controller. And so
shout out to PlayStation.
So Stockton Rush was just like, you know, the CEO was like, no, I can do it, I can back us up, and the engineer was like, no,
because you're gonna rip that thing,
give it to me. And Stockton kept trying it, and he was like, dude, like, you got to give it to me. And he said, ever since that, and that's the one that he ended up firing. Well, he ended up firing like everybody,
or else they quit.
Or else they quit. Yeah, and that was the thing. The running theme of the whole, like, they literally show an org chart.
Yeah.
And on the org chart, it's like they just grade out people. So if you didn't agree with him,
the turnaround was crazy.
If you didn't, you know, follow the command, if you weren't like thinking that he was the end all be all, and like I said, having that cult mentality, because he would come off, they would bust champagne bottles, everybody would drink out of the same champagne bottle, like everybody was just like, oh my god, this is so great. And the way that they described it, because even the videographer, I didn't mention his name, but he was like, look, when it started, it was amazing, because it was like, you're a part of something that is so epic. It's something that nobody else is doing. Nobody has done it with this. What did you say, fiber?
Yeah, the carbon fiber.
Yep, the carbon fiber. Nobody's done this. Nobody's tried to go down to the, you know, Titanic and take average everyday people down to that. And da-da-da. And then, you know, so they're like, this is huge. And if you're into this, like if you are somebody who is into biology and you're into especially marine biology and engineering and all, like, oh my gosh, this is
it's like a kid in a candy store. I get that.
But then you realize the guy is a sociopath.
He is.
And a narcissist.
Definitely, yes.
So he is like an evil.
Like, he reminds me of somebody else, but I'm not going to mention it.
But they're not even saying he's a genius. They were saying that he really, like, almost flunked out of Princeton. Like, they were like,
they showed his report card. He had C's, he had like 2 B's and then C's and D's.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he wasn't necessarily smart. He was just
charismatic,
and I'm telling you,
and he had white privilege. He had the name, the money, and everything. That's what it was.
And so based on all of that, and I don't want to go, I mean, I've already gone into a lot, but it's so much to unpack in there. But when you hear all the stories and you hear from the testimonies, and you, like, those are the things we didn't even cover, but like, you hear from the testimonies, you hear from the people who were fired, you hear from the people who put lawsuits against them. The lawsuits one day, lawsuits the other. You hear from people who were like, I was there until I couldn't be there anymore. Like, that is the kind of craziness. And to know that he just literally let go of every single person who told him no, or who told him it wasn't working, or who told him something catastrophic is going to happen. And he was like, well, you're giving me no choice, but you got to go. And then he just take another person in the room and say, okay, now you're the
now you got it now. Yeah.
And it was crazy. So
you're the main person now.
Anyway, it's
one thing that I will say that is very traumatic is that his wife heard him die.
Well, but did she know that that's what she was hearing as she was hearing it?
Well, when you look at the video, they all look at each other and was like, what is that? Mm-hmm. Did you hear that noise?
Yeah.
Is everything okay? And then it was like, I don't know, but I think that they knew.
Yeah, maybe they knew, but they just couldn't say anything. And plus,
they knew, but it wasn't confirmed.
It wasn't confirmed. And, oh, by the way, there's a whole bunch of other people in there with him this time.
Yeah.
Because he did a lot of these by himself. Mm-hmm. So now knowing, not all the way down to the Titanic, but hearing all that popping and stuff like that was when he was in there by himself. And so, but everybody who went, like almost everybody who went heard it. And he was like, oh, that's just the, the swelling and the this and that of it. Oh, and I still never said the third thing. So let me say the third thing. I was like, keep going down.
ADHD.
I know, right? Oh my gosh. So the third thing was, he told them, he said, do not, one of the engineers, long before he left, he had said, and he got fired, or he walked away, I can't remember, but he had said, look, do not let that thing freeze. Whatever you do not let the submersible stay in cold weather, because what will happen is the water pressure that is in any crevices of that is going to expand with the ice. And
when
then
it
once you put it back into the Caribbean or whatever water, then it's going to contrast. Mm-hmm. And the very next expedition where they went deep, after he let it sit in the winter, in not Nova Scotia, but somewhere.
Well, they were in Canada.
Oh, was it Canada?
Yeah.
Newfoundland. I think that's in Finland or
was
something. It was somewhere.
But
Anyway.
yeah, it was in Canada because they had to go out in international waters, and he's like, and if anything happens, then I'll just buy a senator.
Yes.
And that guy was like, I quit.
I quit.
Right now, I quit.
You heard him say, "Oh well, we work in the further down south so that way we don't have any issues, and then we work out of Canada, so we stay in international waters. That's our way around the system. So Caribbean, international waters to Canada, and that keeps us whatever. And then that way also because OSHA was getting involved, and you had some other area that wanted to get involved, and then they were like, well, he wouldn't bring it to where we could look at it and inspect it and do what we needed to do. So that's why he kept it in Canada or wherever it was cold, so that way everything froze. So you could see the snow was all around it, everything. And then they said the next expedition was its last. Because of the fact that he just didn't want to. He was trying to circumvent all these systems.
Yeah, but not only on top of that, but I'm pretty sure like that big thing was not that big. It has like the size of a car, right?
I mean, yeah, probably.
Let's say it's probably the size of an expedition.
Yeah, like an SUV. Yeah. Right, a big SUV.
You can park that in a garage.
And what?
So, and then that way it's not out in the elements. So,
but you would probably have to park it in a garage with the heat on all the time. Like, because you couldn't just do it
heat on all the time?
Yeah.
I live.
Yeah.
I die.
But that's the thing. Like, because he said that other people, the same guy, he was like, he challenged me once and said, why didn't you tell me about blah, blah, blah? And he said, I did tell you. I wrote a report. It was on your desk. Like, I gave you the information, but he was acting like he didn't know anything about it. So, therefore, he's like, that probably was the case here, too. I had already told him what it was, and he's risking lives because I truly believe. Did you know how they say people can pass a lie detector test?
Yeah, I believe you.
I think that he was so in his own belief about what could happen and how good it was that he believed himself.
So he's like, he had his own inner cult. And he was the leader. He was his biggest fan.
But that's what narcissists do too. A narcissist believes their BS, and so that's what I think it was. I think that he believed it enough that if you put him under a lie detector and asked him, "Is this safe? Do you have any concerns about taking anybody down there? Do you have this? Do you have that?" I think he had built it up in his mind so much that he probably would have passed with flying colors because he was just that deep into it. And it's almost like a psychotic break where you can't get yourself out of it. So you're just, no, it's right. It's got to work. It's doing.
Damn.
And it's like he just kept going lower and lower and lower into that. And then anybody who was saying anything different, he was like, no, you're trying to elevate me. You're trying to bring me out of this thing that I believe. And so therefore, no, that's not the case. And it ended up being catastrophic for him and unfortunately for other people.
Yeah, I think a takeaway from this is if you got C's, B's, and D's, you probably shouldn't be making a submarine.
But that's why he was like, I paid great engineers to do that.
Yeah, but then you didn't listen to them.
But then you don't listen to them.
So therefore...
Because your C and D personality
see, there you go. Yeah, see?
So yeah.
You're trying to tell me the war of 1819 didn't happen in 1819? Or something like 1812? He would be like that. He would probably be like, the war of 1812 happened in 1813.
Yeah.
And you cannot tell me any different.
Right.
You know why? Because my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather was a general and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and signed the Declaration of Independence. Yeah. So there you go. So
wow.
But anyway, so that is the movie in a nutshell. Yeah. It's a documentary, and it is Titan, the OceanGate submersion.
Let's try that again. And take two.
It is called. Now, look, I'd already closed it out because
Titan.
I said it. Titan.
The OceanGate disaster.
No.
Yes.
I have Submersible in there.
Okay.
Titan. The OceanGate submersible disaster.
Oh, okay. I just have disaster.
Well, there you go.
Okay,
all right.
cool.
Well, anyway. So, yeah, either one of those, you can look it up. It is on Netflix, and it is mind-boggling. There were a couple of points where my mouth just dropped open. I'll just say that. And I was just like, are you kidding me that you would even come out your mouth with this stuff?
Yeah, I know. It was... After a while, I think I started watching it after a while because I saw that, like, how that guy was, and I was like, I'm not interested in that man. I want to know everything about the submarine.
Right.
I don't care about this man. I don't want this man on my TV. I don't want to hear the things that he said to people. Yeah. So disrespectful. Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like people like that.
So much. It's a lot. So anyway, all right, what do you got, sis?
Okay, so what I have, what can you watch that on? Netflix, okay. Mm-hmm. So what I have is also a Netflixy. All right. So what I have is Trainwreck, the Astroworld tragedy.
That's the other thing I
Get out of here. Look at us.
That is too
Simpatico.
crazy.
Simpatico.
Oh,
as soon as I said Trainwreck, I saw your head pop up.
Looking like, wait a minute, isn't that what my next?
But there's a lot of train wrecks though. No, I'm saying it's a lot of train wrecks. That's a whole
I was
other.
looking at the other one too. Well, I didn't start looking at it, but
the one with the guy, the murder guy, whatever.
Yeah.
With the heavy set face on the front.
No, that's the one with with the guy who they was like, I never did cocaine, and he was like a senator or something like that.
I don't remember that.
It's some stories. I can't remember his name now, but anyway, all right.
All right, so Trainwreck, the Astroworld tragedy. Believe a lot of people would know and probably remember. This is actually a documentary about Travis Scott having his. It was a world tour, part of his tour, and he was doing it in his hometown.
Yep.
So he was like, I got to do it big. Like, he was getting together with Live Nation to go ahead and make sure everything was all set up. Everything was going to be beautiful and like nice for him. So, a lot of things happened. First thing that happened, the kids jumped the fence, and now you don't know how many people are in here.
Yeah. So people, right, they didn't have, in Astroworld 2019, they didn't have enough people, and people jumped the fence. Knocked the whole fence down.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it knocked the fence down. But then also, those are those fences that are, they're stand ones that you put them together. Yeah. So it's a big square at the bottom that you just take the two poles and sit in that has the actual chain link fence on it.
So before they did that, and then they said, we need to have more security for the next one. We need to make sure that we do everything a little bit better in 2021 when it came back, because it missed 2020 because of the pandemic. So when it came back 2021, which I was like, that was a lot of people on top of each other as early as 2021. That was a lot. Yeah. But anyway, and they did the exact same thing, knocked everything down. People just ran in for free. So yeah.
So but basically, so in this documentary, we have like 4 male friends that all went to go see it together. We have one young lady who went to go see it. She ended up saving somebody's life while she was there. But as with the 4 young men, one of them actually did pass away. So I think it ended up being like 7 or 8 people who actually passed away from it was a lot of injuries, but I think it was
a lot of injuries. I think it ended up being 10 total.
10 total. Okay.
It was 8 that night.
Oh yeah, 8 that night.
Or like between that night, like in the first 24 hours, and then there were a few people who just succumbed to the injuries later, and one was a little kid.
Oh yeah, I do remember the little kid. Yeah, because I remember when that happened, people were like, "Why would you take your kid to a not Juice World? Oh my God, to an Astroworld concert?" And I understand that, because the thing is about Travis Scott is that he wants like mosh pit, everybody do some crazy stuff while I'm, up here rapping and singing or whatever. I want to jump from, this scaffold down, and
he wants to incite chaos.
Yeah. Basically,
doing what he's doing.
Yeah. But, one, he was a child, so he didn't understand that once you do that chaos turns into, basically disaster. Mm-hmm. So I think that was a whole thing that he didn't realize. It's like, oh yeah, everybody's having fun, but that's not fun anymore after it gets to a certain part.
Especially people, like, especially a little kid, like, the parent could have them on their shoulders or something, but at the same time, not an entire concert for hours on end.
Exactly.
And so you have people jumping up and down, and there's a little kid in the middle of it all. Like, they can get trampled easily.
Exactly.
So that's something to think about too.
I do say that one of the things that happened was they put it together, like how they had everything put together. So they had, his stage was separate from everybody else's. That was whatchamacallit. That was performing. But there was only one way to get to his stage. But that was part of the reason why that corner ended up having so much stuff going on with it. But so with him being like that, I actually did security when he came to Richmond. I was on the stage with him because he likes to jump on things that are the size of his foot.
What do you mean?
The speaker, like the little speaker that's probably like no bigger than like a laptop.
Yeah.
That's like, it's tall. It's called a K12 or something like that. Yeah, he got on that and was standing there and he's rapping and he's jumping. So now it's me and another guy that are standing there with our hands up, making sure that while he's jumping up and down.
That the speaker itself doesn't.
Well, no, he doesn't fall because he literally only has his feet enough where he can jump. If he moved his foot just a little bit, he's going to roll his ankle and fall off and probably break his neck. So that's why we was like, okay.
You gotta save Travis. You saved Travis Scott.
I saved Travis Scott.
Wow.
Yeah.
My sister's a hero.
Maybe. Yeah. But then he just kept doing that. And then he jumped in the crowd, stuff like that. So he's like...
He jumps in like literally jumps into the crowd?
Yeah, he jumps into the crowd.
Like crowd surf him?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But then also when he jumps into a crowd and crowd surfs, he gets mad when people start to like pull on him and take stuff. He was like, "You just tried to take my shoe. Why would you take my shoe?" It's like,
what do you
because they're fans of you and you just jumped in there. They want a piece of you that they can take home.
It's not like they're trying to take your shoe. Maybe they'll sell it on eBay. But it's more like I'm a
it's
fan
memorabilia.
and I want exactly. Take your belt. That'd be glad they didn't take his pants.
I know I'm surprised he didn't get stripped completely down. But yeah. So I think that just the whole thing about it, the way that it was all set up, I think that it was just not put together properly.
Yeah.
But then also, I feel like Live Nation and Travis Scott together did not do what they should have done in that night. So the first person that they actually show, there's like, you see that, what was it? Somebody was like getting trampled. Actually, no, this is what it was. The gates at the front, the barriers that are at the front right before the stage. Yeah. So right there, they were saying that when he was coming out, that everybody was just so excited and everybody just moved forward. Like they just drawed them in. Yeah. But then all these people are getting crushed up against that
front gate because they're there and everybody moved forward with their phones up and they're not paying attention. And then they also said that as the crowd swayed, you swayed
whether you wanted to or not.
Whether you wanted to or not. It was like, it was sweat, like almost like a breath.
Yeah.
Where it was like going forward, going back. Like it was just crazy. Yeah. And as things were happening, people were like, I can't breathe.
Yeah, there was a lot of people couldn't breathe.
Against people and couldn't breathe. And then you had people against the gate that couldn't breathe. Yes. And then you had people who, because it was moving back and forth, they fell
and then they got trampled.
It was
it was like a football. It was like a football, like a pile up.
Yep, exactly.
People piled up on top of each other, and the people, thankfully the people were like, oh, let me help you up. But then there was like one guy who was like, I was going to help somebody up, and then he ended up falling.
It's crazy.
And then he was like, he said I could see barely, like he said I could see like parts of people's like hands or their head or something like that.
And then they were like, we're gonna die like this. Like,
he said
he said
literally I was
feel somebody underneath him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, but what Live Nation did, so the first, like what was originally happening with the barricade part was that once people got too close and it was like they were yelling and screaming for security, hey, help me, like I'm stuck, like I can't breathe. So now they're bringing people over
the fence,
over the barrier,
more people towards
it. Yeah. So then that's happening more, but as that is also happening with more people going towards the fence, now more people are falling. But then they ended up, Travis Scott did stop at one point in time.
Yeah, it says, I tried to make like a few notes on that if you wanted me to talk about it really quick.
Go ahead.
They said that at 9:30 basically was when people were yelling, stop the show, stop the show.
They were still yelling, stop the show.
And a guy went to the top of like a little ladder to the like lightning guy.
So it was like, the guy who was doing the camera for the camera that shows Travis Scott so they can have it all on the big screen.
So he went up to the top of the camera or to the ladder and he was like, you got to stop the show. People are being trampled. People are dying down there. Like, you got to stop the show. And he's screaming like at the top of his lungs. Yeah. And him was and another girl with a friend. Yeah. Friends. So it was like 4 or 5.
It was 4 of the guys. Four of the guys.
No, I'm talking about.
Oh, you're talking about the other guys. I think it was 3 of.
It was the 2 girls and the 2
girls and the 2 guys.
And
3 guys.
maybe 3. That's why I said I thought there was 5. So 3 guys and 2 girls, and so he was one of those, and he was screaming and yelling like, "You gotta stop the show! You gotta stop the show!" And he was like, "Thankfully," he said, because nobody was paying attention to me. This other girl got up there, and I don't even know how she got up there, but she was up there even closer than he was to the stage.
I think that she might have already been up there actually.
Maybe so, and she was screaming and yelling, like, "What are y'all doing? Y'all need to stop the show! People are dying!" You know, because it was from heat. So heat exhaustion.
I would have had to grab the camera and be like, "Stop that show!"
Right, exactly. Like
you're right there at the camera.
You're
just
right
grab
it.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so anyway, it said that next they couldn't stop the show unless 2 people out of that whole Live Nation, whatever, only 2 people could pull the plug on the show. One was like the manager and somebody else was something else. So they said that everybody was looking for the guy because nobody could do anything. So everybody was looking for him. So it took over 20 minutes. And the concert was still continuing. And then at 9:52, the manager gets the sound engineer, gets to them, and tells them that 2 people were likely dead. Like literally just, kind of nonchalant.
But which I didn't understand how Travis Scott wasn't up there performing, and you see people doing CPR.
Yeah, see people
directly
doing CPR,
in front of
see
you.
People who, well, that's why I couldn't tell if they were doing CPR or if you could just see that people were.
Well, people
overheated.
are limp and being taken out, like literally, they are crowd surfing somebody who is possibly not living anymore.
Right,
that's what it looked like.
Yeah, so for the passing out, I'm wondering if in his mind, if he's just seeing people passed out, he's just like, oh, everybody's hype, and it's like Michael Jackson. They would people pass out from that, and they would bring whatever. So I don't know if he knew the severity of it, which I would think you would have to, but I digress. Yeah, because I'm like, you're not Michael Jackson in my eyes, so whatever.
Yeah, but then also it's like,
but then he stopped the show, and there was somebody that he told them to.
This guy's passed out. Bring him to front, and he was limp.
Yeah, and he was.
He was
did not look like he was alive, and I don't know if he was somebody
his arm was like weird behind him. His legs were all crossed, crazy. His head was just bobbing around. I was like, that man's gone.
I thought he was, and I don't know if they confirmed.
I don't know. That you know what? That could have been the guy's the friend that passed away.
I don't know, because I felt like that was on the other side of the stage.
Yeah, that's right. This one was on the other side. Yeah, on the right side.
Which was weird because you never heard that much from the other side. You mainly heard it from the right side if you're looking at the crowd.
But and they said that the right side was less people. The left side was the most people because that's where everybody was walking in to where the stage was.
But I guess I was thinking from the other direction. I was saying right or left.
Okay, I'm saying like if you're looking at the stage. If you're looking at the stage.
Looking out from the stage because he looked to his left to say that person, but the right was where most of the was happening. Was happening. So that just tells you that it was even worse on the right side, and he only noticed what was happening on the left. Exactly, and that was not as bad.
Exactly.
And so then they said that the guy did say to the sound engineer that tell Travis that we probably have to stop the show and that 2 people are likely dead. Now, they are saying that they do not know if that sound engineer, they don't know what the communication was between the sound engineer and Travis Scott.
Yeah, right.
But I know, right? So basically, it's like more people are actually crushed. So he did say that 2 are likely dead. There's more people that are crushed. And then it said that he had been in this career for over 25 years and he had never seen anything to this degree. Yeah. Now, mind you, you've been gone for 20 minutes, so I don't know where you were because you could have called this.
Exactly.
Guy, right? So then he was like, we got to shut it down. Look, in 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Why in 8 minutes?
In 8 minutes
because it was 9:52, and he was like, we got to shut it down at 10. People are dying.
Yeah.
But we're not going to shut it down right now. We're going to give people 8 more minutes. You know why? Because Drake's coming out.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So then Drake hits the scene. Guess what people do then? They
crowd more.
Up and crowd up even more. And so therefore, he made it to the stage. They said that Live Nation later in the documentary says that the police gave the organizers more time to do the show, so it wasn't up to us to be able to pull the plug because of the fact that we had all this extra time that the police, like they were blaming it on the Houston PD.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, they didn't do
nothing.
Right. Well, and I guess they're like, if it was that bad and they knew that people were getting CPR and all these ambulances and fire trucks and blah, blah, blah needed to come, then why are they giving us more time to hold this concert? I guess is what their perspective is. because they're like, which your people have been called to. You know that you've gotten the 911 calls over a half hour ago telling you that people were getting crushed and dying.
I don't know, like, if what they actually could have done, like, what, like... if the police would have done something... If the police
could have gone on a stage for NWA and stopped those shows, they could have gone up on a stage.
No. I'm just wondering as far as the money for Live Nation. I wonder what Live Nation would have done. If Live Nation would... Because it sounds
what are you talking about? That the money for what? I'm confused because there's lives. So who cares about the money?
No, that's what I'm saying. Live Nation cares about the money.
I know they care about the money, but how much money are they out of now with these death suits? Because it was all undisclosed amounts.
Yeah, but...
And everybody was, quote unquote, found not guilty of anything, or anything unlawful or unjust. But at the same time, I know those families got...
Oh, yeah, they got a good
abundance of money. Because not only did they probably want to go after Live Nation and Travis Scott, but also probably the police department.
Well, I would go over the whole county.
I would go through everything. And then, so basically the show didn't end until 10:13. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
so they literally were making phone calls, I think even before 9:30. But then they got up on the stage and told them, look, y'all need to cancel it. Then 20 more minutes happened. And then they finally said, close it at 10. And then it didn't close until 10:13. So, yeah. And they said, and they show in the documentary, when that show was over and people left, ambulances were everywhere. So you knew there was a catastrophic situation.
But then on top of that, there are people who are looking for other people.
Yeah, everybody's looking for their
Everybody is looking.
Everybody just got pulled away.
So there are so many people just calling the hospital, and the hospital knows, like they already know, hey, we've had all these people come in from this. Yeah. Now we're going to be inundated with calls, and as we are, we literally have to tell the people, like, look, we don't have them here yet. Mm-hmm. Which I'm pretty sure is a HIPAA violation. Like if somebody calls to the hospital and says, hey, I'm trying to find this person, are they there? You're not supposed to say that. But I can understand the severity of this when it's a big, huge concert or a big, huge festival. Yeah. And you're constantly getting people coming in because while the concert's still going on, basically. Right. Exactly. Because they are slowly...
Yeah, because one guy, he was like, look, I'm not an EMT, he was a police officer or whatever. He was like, if I'm doing CPR on you...
Yeah. You're in trouble. Said, I just picked it. He said, I just picked up the shift. It's going to be an easy day. Yep. He said, it's a little hydration. That was it. He said, boy, was I wrong.
Yeah, and he ended up, he said at one point he went to the medical tent and he said, I'm working on my person trying to bring them back, and I finally do. And I look around because I'm finally able to look up and he's like, there's 2 over here, there's 2 over there, there's 2 over there. He's like, what the heck is happening? Like, what is going on? And you just had people from heat exhaustion to like just being hurt from being trampled or just... Literally just think of bodies pressed against each other so much that you almost can't breathe. And that woman who helped that guy, she was a nurse, she had been trampled, basically, got up and then realized, okay, like, I need to help somebody else because they're in need. Like, she could see that they were just like a whole different color, like they weren't.
She was like, he was not responsive.
And so she helped him.
She said she did the sternum things.
Yeah,
everything.
You could see her hand. Really? I don't know if you paid attention. Her hand looked
I did. Like she was going inside.
His rib cage,
because
trying to bring his heart back to life. And he said he had a heart attack out there. Oh. He literally had a heart attack from all of the pressure and everything that had happened. It caused his heart to shut down because he couldn't get enough oxygen. Because that's what everybody was saying too. I can't even breathe. Yeah. I don't have enough oxygen. And so his heart literally stopped because of this. Yeah. And he was somebody who was like, I was the #1 Travis Scott fan. And
he's a number.
I hate this man. Like, I hate is a hard word, but no. Yeah. Just knowing that.
I think all of those people that were on the documentary are just they're anti him.
They were so like, and I mean, then what happened? Like, did they get anything? Because there's so many people who ended up being not a part of this documentary, but people who were hurt by all of this. Yeah. And so, were they a part of the lawsuit?
I'm sure. It's like mesothelioma.
I guess this guy who had the heart attack, yes, but somebody who, I fell into the mosh pit and I got up, but I was okay. Like, do you have any recourse to be able to make any money? Like that young guy who was talking about his friend, his female friend Bree, she passed away. And so, and I don't know. So it was just, tragic. I mean, to come off with starting with a thing for good, right? Because his whole thing was, look, when I grew up, I used to go to Astroworld.
Yeah.
And I used to want to go through and be able to have the ability for, you know, me and other people and things like that to have fun. And you know, it was roller coasters and like Six Flags. Basically what it was called. And so what ended up happening was, unfortunately, him trying to bring that Astroworld feel, and it did look like an amusement park. He had
He had it was his big head that you walked into, like you would do at like a circus.
Yeah,
like
the circus. Where they have the clown,
the clown's mouth.
Into their mouth, right? Yeah. Exactly. And so anyway, I don't know. It was too much.
It was a lot. It was very sad, and I did get some information that I didn't know about before when it came to how, you know, everything ended up happening. I didn't know that Live Nation had actually talked to Travis Scott and told him, hey, I thought they just finished the concert. I didn't know that Live Nation had told him, like, hey, you, like,
supposedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
With him and the engineer, right?
Yes. And then also,
like, where's that engineer? Couldn't the engineer say what he did or did not do?
Yeah, I feel like engineer is like the same way as saying accountant. It's like it's just a thing that people say because there's not an actual person. It's just we're just gonna say it's this.
And then like, well, who was the engineer?
It's the scapegoat. It's the scapegoat. I don't know. We just call him in.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Anyway.
Yeah. But very, very, very. It's sad at some parts, but I mean, it starts off really exciting at the beginning because everybody's getting ready for the festival. Everybody's talking about their clothes, everything. Yeah, and because he's from Houston, so he wanted to make it big, and literally, like all these people were excited, and you just see how it goes from happy and cheerful to all of that dramatic music that's like doom.
It was scary. I mean, if I were there, I would have totally panicked.
Oh, yeah, I would probably... See, the thing is, I think if I was there, it's my fight or flight, and I would probably fight.
No, you'd be just trying to fight people? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. And then maybe people would back up because they're like, oh, fight. And then they back away, maybe. I don't know. But I feel like if I had started off close to that fence, I don't know what I would have done. Like, it's nothing you could have done.
Yeah, you would just have to hop
At that point, you couldn't even probably get enough strength to pull yourself over because you can't even breathe to be able to have the breath to pull yourself over it. So you would just hope that the police or somebody would see that you're in duress and would help you out. But I think that if it was getting that tight, I don't know why I feel like I would just be like, you know, put your hand up like you would do in church. And
put your finger. I mean, definitely. If I feel like people is pushing up on me, that's when the fight would come out and be like, hey, bro, look, I know that you excited to see Travis Scott. I am too. But if you don't back up.
Yeah, but with that many people doing it all at once, like when they were talking about that sway, and you could literally see it, there's no fight or flight with that.
Remind me to show you something too when we're done.
Crazy. So anyway. So
I do have hot topics.
Yes.
Hot topics.
So
all right.
We had,
hot topics.
That was Travis.
That was at
Astroworld.
Wait. That was Trainwreck.
Yes.
Astroworld. Hold on. Trainwreck. The Astroworld Tragedy.
Yep, on Netflix.
Yeah, on Netflix. All these are on Netflix. All right, hot topics. So I remember I told you we was going to talk about the what was it? Flag Day / Trump's birthday / military
parade for the 250th anniversary.
So if you've looked on social media, about 25 people went to that.
Not 25.
They said that there was more military there than was actual people that were speculating.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
And I think they said it was like, I don't know if they said 3,000 or 6,000 military people that were there.
So it was less than 6,000
and
people total.
What ended up happening was all of the rest of the United States.
The United States is protesting.
Was protesting. And you know what? I didn't even see. Did they show any peaceful protests in D.C.? I don't remember seeing any.
I don't remember seeing anything in D.C. either.
Yeah, so. They probably shut down a lot of roads. Yeah. So it's probably like, you're not going to be able to.
That's probably where he was not going to allow it to happen.
Exactly. So, yes. So, it's. He looked very upset. He looked like a kid that somebody blew out his birthday candle.
Yeah.
While he was sitting there. And it was... So, you know, when you're walking... when you are marching as in the military, it is a certain cadence. That's a way that you're supposed to walk. Correct. So with that, you're supposed to be in step. Everybody's in form. That's why they have the left, right, left, right. Well, the ones who wanted to protest, who didn't want to be there, they just walked regular.
Oh, really? They didn't even want to. Oh, that's what was happening.
That's what. So the guys. So when you see the guys that are just walking regular, that's because they didn't want to be there. There are guys in there that are marching right, and the other guys are just like, yeah, I'm just bopping along. I gotta be here.
So they didn't want to even give him the visual that he was looking for that goes in alignment with like North Korea.
Exactly. So that happened, but there was, if you you can look it up on anything. If you look up the No Kings protest, the cities that got together, I think Philadelphia had probably almost the most. They look like they might have had like 45,000 people that they had to protest the No Kings Day. And I just thought that it was like pretty deep how the world came together. There was a lot of veterans that were like, look, I fought for this country, but not for no stuff like this. So therefore, I know I said that they had busted down the, I told you that before, they busted down the barricade, some of the veterans busted down the barricade so they can go sit on the steps and go ahead and, do their whole thing. But, there were so many protests, and
they said, just to let you know, it said it was between 4 and 6 million people countrywide in regards to the calculation of that, which would be almost 2% of the U.S. population. This could exceed the previous record set in history when 3.3 million and 5.6 million people showed up for the Women's March.
Oh, the Women's March. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Trump
before. That was before, yeah.
So this is even bigger than that march that showed up. So it was like, ooh, because that's when they had the pink hats on.
I wonder, can you look it up and see how many people was actually at the King's Day or whatever they call it? The what is it? The military parade?
The military parade, because it wasn't about him.
Yeah, whatever the ratio is, because I know it's probably like 3, maybe, it could have been more than that. Maybe like 4 actual army, soldiers to 1 spectator. Or something like that. I don't know, but it was, if you looked at it, the whole yard, like the whole, where was it? Is that where the National Mall is?
Yeah.
Yeah, all of that was clear. Like, there were people, like, literally.
People just spread all out. No chance of getting COVID.
At all. And there was some people who were going around and asking people questions. So they were like, all right, so what do you think about today? Like, do you think this is about Trump's birthday? And the dude was like, no. This is about, the army and how we love and respect them and we appreciate them. And he was like, okay, I like your hat. And he was like, oh yeah, I just bought this. Yeah, it's, it's a MAGA hat. And then it was like, yeah, and the shirt too. And it was like, oh yeah, I got this a couple of days ago, and it's it was just like a Trump shirt. And he was like, yeah, cool. And look at the shoes, and it's like everything that you have on is all Trump, but you're trying to say that this is not for Trump,
right? Why would you wear camouflage?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Why don't you wear camouflage? Or like, why you should be dressed like the American flag or something.
Right, exactly.
Like, dressed like an eagle.
American, as opposed to dressing like it's about Trump.
Yeah, exactly. So, but while you're looking that up, so yes.
Well, I'm looking it up, and there's no real way to really tell.
Did it say how many?
As they said, it was. It's interesting. Okay. So they said it was about 6,000 military people.
That's what I thought was.
Yeah,
I couldn't remember if it was 3 or 6.
The Trump team claims that 250,000 people showed up. So
stop doing that, bro.
But I'm just saying, everywhere that I am trying to find,
but they're just going off of what he said because nobody counted.
What it is, because everybody knows that it's so much less than that.
If I was there, I would have counted. I would have been somewhere let me count. 3, so I know, I just want to know.
But no, it's okay. So here's somebody on Reddit saying that they did I calculated the rough size of the crowd at Trump's birthday parade, because they aren't calling it that. They aren't calling it
the military appreciation parade.
And they said that it was a minimum of 5 to 6 people deep.
I agree with that.
A minimum of 5 to 6 people deep.
And when you understand what deep means, that means that like if there's only 5 to 6 rows of people.
Yes, 5 to 6 rows of people deep at a maximum. Yeah. And so they said, although this is a crude calculation, they said with the crowd size, they said it was 50,000 would be generous. They said it's probably as little as 30,000. And so that was what they were saying, maybe 30,000 people. And they literally have like a layout of the National Mall. They have a layout of everything and figuring out per square footage and blah, 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 blah. Based on photos and everything. Like they were really trying to figure it out. And so therefore they were like, yeah, probably between 30 and 50,000 people. And you had 6 million who don't want you to be there.
Yeah. So it's like if 2% of the world's population, you had 0.000000001.
And, oh, by the way, the military vehicles, as they said, could have cost $16 million worth of damage to the D.C. roads and streets. Yeah. So they had to set that aside for this over $40 million parade.
But we have to make budget cuts, guys.
Yeah. We're getting ready to Juneteenth.
Yeah. What? Of course we are.
Well, I mean, he literally on Juneteenth said that there are way too many federal holidays that are costing the United States billions.
Like your birthday? Anyway.
Yeah, so that's what I think he would do, right? He would take away Juneteenth because you can't have his birthday.
Black History Month's going away. Asian Pacific Islander
I'm telling you, he's
going to
take away Juneteenth and he's going to put it as his birthday, and he's going to figure out a way to twist it to say, well, you have to celebrate me. Yeah. You don't have to celebrate the history of black people.
The freedom of slavery.
Like, what is that about? And we already took away everything with critical race theory anyway, so was there even slavery? In his mind, probably.
Yeah. I don't even
was that even a thing? Was that even
But one more thing that I did want to talk about that this fool is doing, that this man is doing. So he is telling people that they can be denied care which he just did this military parade. Remember that.
Yes.
If the doctor thinks that they are a Democrat or anything against him. So
they can be denied care. Okay.
Yes. So let's talk about that.
Donald Trump and Republicans love veterans, right? That's what I've always been told, that they love veterans. They seem to imply that Democrats don't, but the Republicans definitely love veterans. Unless those veterans are Democrats or unmarried. According to this new piece from The Guardian, extremely disturbing and unethical new rules allow VA doctors to refuse to treat Democrats and unmarried veterans. Doctors at VA hospitals nationwide could refuse to treat unmarried veterans and Democrats under new hospital guidelines imposed following an executive order by Donald Trump. The new rules obtained by The Guardian also apply to psychologists, dentists, and a host of other occupations. They have already gone into effect in at least some VA medical centers. So it works like this. Medical staff are still required to treat veterans despite their race, color, religion, and sex, and all veterans remain entitled to treatment. However, individual workers are now free to decline care for patients based on personal characteristics not explicitly prohibited by federal law. So what does that mean? It means language requiring healthcare professionals to care for veterans regardless of their politics and marital status has been explicitly eliminated. Also, doctors and other medical staff can be barred from working at VA hospitals based on their marital status, on their political party affiliation, or even union activity. And we're talking about like chiropractors, certified nurse practitioners, optometrists, podiatrists, licensed clinical social workers, and speech therapists can just lose their job because they're a registered Democrat. Or because they're just not married. When you claim to care about veterans, to care about the fact that these people, regardless of their political party affiliation, served their country, many of them got injured doing so, and now you want to deny them care because of who they might vote for, when you say that, it's a real big don't listen to what I say and watch what I do kind of situation. Donald Trump.
Yeah. So then I got that from Tizzy ENT, which I love this guy.
Yeah,
he does a lot of he gets a lot of information. He puts people on blast. Him and the Jolly Ginger.
I don't know that one.
The Jolly Ginger. Yeah. Okay. But they're both of them. But military parade, but if you're a Democrat, sorry, you can't get your meds.
Yeah, you can't get. And what is the marital status piece of it? What is that about? That's
the Handmaid's Tale.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out if that's like a dig at like LGBTQ stuff too, because
Probably
maybe
so.
it is.
I'm
Something
surprised that hasn't come back up. Like, yeah, we're getting all the gays out of the military. Have they already said that? They probably have.
I don't know.
I feel like if they say they're getting
keep
all,
up.
I feel like if they say we're getting all the gays out of the military, everybody in the military is gonna just have their wrist bent. I swear.
Like, okay, girl,
I
because
know.
they're getting ready to go to war, so
Right.
he can't do that because they're getting ready to go to war. So therefore, you need to have
Yeah, he's
as
gonna wait
many
till they come
people
back.
as possible.
We mean getting ready to go to war. We're already in war, right?
his mind,
Yeah.
sacrifice themselves on the front line because
Yeah.
that's really what it would be about for him. Like he would not care because he didn't even do anything. He had heel spurs.
And
So there's that.
another thing that happened was that Israel and Iran, they got they're going back and
with
forth,
each other. Yeah.
and now we in the middle of it.
And Lebanon.
In Lebanon, yeah, and we
They're
in the middle of
watching
it.
the missiles go over them, over
Yes,
to the other
yes.
side, and
So-
over them back to the other side.
Which is got to be a scary
so we
thing.
would be on the side of Israel.
I'm gonna be on the side of Lebanon.
To war.
Yeah.
Against Iran, and there
Yes.
has been a lot of talk, especially Wednesday. There was a lot of talk about him saying Iran is going to see.
That's what he said. He said it's going to be
fury of
something.
things that
Yeah,
you've never seen.
yeah, you'll
before,
never
and-
see. It's things that you've never seen before. It's going to happen tonight. Just wait for it. It'll be in the history books. It's like
nothing
what?
happened, but-
No, they.
I mean,
they
was
were,
it to the history of what nothing has ever never?
Well,
been
now we
before?
declare war. Now it's war. All the kids on TikTok are showing all their steak and lobster dinners that they're getting before they get deployed. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm just like, it's just ridiculous. It's so, I'm trying to stay out of it as much as possible, but it still shows up either way. So I don't know, but I have never had a desire more in the history of my life
To move?
leave the country and go somewhere else than I have in this moment right now, to the point that I told my boyfriend, shout out Terry, that he's the only reason that
Aww.
I'm still in the United States.
Wow, thanks. I'm just chopped liver over here. Forget the family.
I love the
just
family,
kidding, I'm just
but
kidding.
I know you all wouldn't necessarily go with me. And I know,
Why?
well, if y'all coming, let's go.
I don't know if I'm gonna go. I might not go to the same place as you, but I might go.
No,
like,
but I'm just saying at this point, I just need to become a nationalized citizen somewhere else.
I want to.
just
Maybe
need to
I should
become a
go for
citizen
my.
of another place.
Yeah, maybe
I
I
need to go to
should go.
Mauritius. They pay you to.
But I told you about Mauritius.
I know. We need to
See,
go to Mauritius.
yeah, the $1,500 a month. That's all you got to have.
Oh yeah, you only have to have $1,500
In the
month
bank
in
account.
the bank every month,
And you can't have a job there.
And you can't have it. That's me.
That's what I'm saying. This was it.
Yeah, you can't.
You can't
hold a
work.
job
You
there.
can't work
as a
and-
person and take
and-
a job
yeah.
from a person.
So
In
you
Mauritius.
can
So
work-
You can do
your own
electronic,
stuff.
You can do You can do everything from a digital perspective on your laptop, your
Yeah,
computer,
or
your
maybe
phone.
if you had to work abroad.
All right, I am booking a trip
All right,
to
yeah.
Mauritius
I
just
don't-
so I can check it out.
I might have to just start off with Canada.
And I think they give you citizenship, right?
Yeah, they give you citizenship.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And it's Africa.
It's also like that in Belize too. Shine made that possible. Ambassador Shine.
I love it. Okay, y'all think I'm playing?
We
but
about to be out.
This broadcast very well may come from Belize, Mauritius,
Yeah.
Costa Rica, Mexico, Paris.
It could be anywhere.
Switzerland. It could be anywhere. It could be anywhere.
Maybe
on that
Greenland.
note,
We don't know.
Greenland. No, they're trying to buy Greenland. Remember?
But they ain't gonna do it. Though.
I'm not gonna be able to do it. So anyway, on that note, y'all, it has been a whirlwind. I don't know what we're gonna call this one, but we're gonna figure it out. So y'all have an amazing rest of your day. Let's just hope that everything's still standing by next Sunday when we come back, y'all.
Really thinking about. No, I'm just saying. Really thinking about Israel and Iran.
Yes.
You know, and the things they're going through because of the nuclear war, the nuclear missiles. So
there's a lot going on there.
just keep everybody in your prayers and your thoughts and whatever you believe. Just put in some positive energy into the world because we need it.
We need it, absolutely. And on that note, everybody, take care of yourself, take care of each other. Bye.